Yes, folks, welcome. We're a couple of minutes late, but we're back here getting started with a new show for today, a new show for this week anyway. It is the Virginia Democratic Black History Month. Another edition of Black History Month, but this is actually the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus during Black History Month. We're all excited. We've got a lot of good guests this month who are coming on. So I just want to welcome you back as I try to control my technology as I do every time. Welcome back to the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus show. And folks, we're glad to see you back. Waiting for my guests to come on. We got a great guest for you this month. We've got some great stuff. There's going to be the Fairfax County Government Black History Show that's coming up in a couple of days. And we're having a guest who's going to come on and tell us all about that. And also at the same time, as I manage my technology, I'm hearing from different folks. And let's see here. Looks like, we may be having some technical difficulties. So let me see whether I can do that while I talk. We're going to do what people call, what do you call it? We call it, wait a minute. I don't want that to happen. Let me stop that for a second. I'm gonna come back over here and try something different here. But stay with me, folks, as I try to get a few things straight here. Okay. Oh, yeah. We've got different guests popping in all over the place. And listen, we're just glad everybody's going to be able to make it in and get on the show. But as I told you, folks, this is a live streaming broadcast. So, we got life happening. And that means everybody's doing well. And one of the questions I got to ask you, as I ask you every time, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Listen, you've got to be doing okay. And hopefully you're doing what you need. As we still tell you, we're still working against all those different things out there concerned with COVID. And I always tell people at the beginning of every show, make sure you're taking care of yourself. We're happy to have you back. But if you haven't, done what you need to do to keep yourself healthy, go ahead and do it. I don't care whether it's a mask or you're getting your booster shot or getting loved ones booster shots. It really doesn't matter. But just make sure you're here with us. We want to have you here for 2023. We want you out there doing all the fantastic things that you do. We couldn't do any of this without everybody working together as a team. And once again, I just want to clap my hands and rub them, getting kind of itchy. People say maybe you're expecting money, but no, what's actually going on is I'm just really excited. It's African American History Month. It's my birthday this month as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on in February. So I'm just happy to make sure that I'm here. We've got a great host, guest who's going to come on, as I said earlier, to tell us a little bit about what's going on during in a couple of days with Fairfax County Government. We had a really great guest last year who told us about it. And we've got another guest who's coming in as well to tell us all about what's going to be happening this year as well. But before I get into that, folks, you know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to first welcome back all the supporters who are small business owners, who are people who support small business owners in Virginia and across the country. And also we support people even if they don't own. We want you to support us even if you don't own a small business. What's important is that you get out there and do what you need to do. And I'm the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus. So, we love for you to get out there and support Democrats, support getting people elected in the office and doing all the beautiful stuff that we try to get done here, because that's what we're about. Okay. But other than that, we have guests that come on. And the guests that come on just tell us about all kind of stuff. We've had people, if you've been watching this show for over a year, we've got folks coming from all different walks. Exactly. We've had politicians, we've had artists, we've had small business owners, we've had people from a number of different areas, because really the small business community and the various constituents, whether it's African American owned small business, Latino owned small business, women owned, veteran owned, millennial owned, small businesses are what is the backbone of this country, and it touches every community, right? So since it does, we just want to, celebrate you a little bit and kind of tell you what you need to do to stay civically engaged and civically minded And that's what we do. So but before I get into that, you know what I've been doing for 80 plus episodes, talking to folks about what is the backbone of this democracy that we have here in this country. You know what that is, folks. I don't have to tell you, do I? Do I need to tell you what it is? No, I don't. You know what it is. It's voting rights. Voting rights. That's right. Voting rights. It is the backbone of any democracy around the world. People's ability to have unfettered access to be able to vote for the candidate of their choice on a local, on a state, and on a federal level. And we here at the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus Show, we talk about that. And we tell people what they need to do, especially here in Virginia and across the country, because this is the internet. It's going everywhere. Everywhere the internet goes, we are. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're streaming live on Twitter. We're streaming live on, we want to get on IG. We're not there yet, but we're on YouTube. Okay. And we're hitting all the major platforms, and we're sending this message out to everyone saying, hey, if you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote. If you want to make sure other people have access to voting, we don't care necessarily. And this isn't a partisan thing one way or the other. We just want you to vote and have ability to vote. Of course, we'd like for you to vote for Democrats, but hey, having access to the voting polls is your right as an American citizen, as a Democratic Party representative. I tell people all the time, that should happen. And let me tell you, one of the things that you need to be making sure is that happens all the time. I talk to you about what is the trifecta or the triple things of what happens with Democrats and what happens with people all over the country is the civil rights. Civil rights is important, particularly when we talk, in this month of African American History Month and all the great folks and supporters who made things happen across the community. And I'm going to start first. What I start every time is I start talking about initially the 1964 Voting Rights Act. Yeah, I'm talking about it again. I talk about it every time. And that basically, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And it also does the same when it comes to hiring. You can't discriminate based on sex, as well as race when you're hiring. That act was signed in 1964. People got out there and fought for it. The president signed that act in 1964, and you see at the bottom there on that picture where people are getting, kids are going to school together and all having the same civil rights. And that's really super important. And I like to tell people that's already done in this country. It was a great thing. But that wasn't good enough. After we did that, the president and the rest of the country and the rest of the politicians in the country decided we need to take this a step further. And what they did said, there's the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The act was signed into law, again, by President Lyndon Baines Johnson, and it outlawed discriminatory voting practices that had been adopted in many southern states and northern states as well after the Civil War, including literacy tests and other things as a prerequisite to voting. Those things are illegal. And in order for everyone to have their right to vote, I don't care what community you come from, you need to know that you have that right. But there were some changes that happened to that law in 2013 by the Supreme Court. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about, okay? Because they actually took out that pre-clearance piece. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. But that's the second leg when I talk about that three-legged stool trifecta. I call it all kinds of things. Trinity, as long as it's tri, it's three. And let me tell you about the last thing that got passed as well. And what that is the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which basically expanded upon the previous acts and prohibited any discrimination concerning the sale, the rental, and the financing of housing based on race, religion, national origin, or sex. And as later amended, it also included our handicapped community and family status, basically. So it didn't matter whether you were single or married, or whether or not, what your relationships was with whomever. They can't discriminate against you based on that. And that's what the Fair Housing Act is all about. Now, we still have intact and on the books the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and we also have the the Fair Housing Act of 1968. The thing that has changed is the most important fundamental piece, which is the Voting Rights Act. And let me tell you how we're trying to fix that and what the Democrats have passed. And this, I'm going to bring that up, which is known as H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Basically, what it does is what the Supreme Court did in 2013, they took the preclearance part out. You're saying, well, what's preclearance, right? Preclearance means before any changes to voting practices in the areas, in any areas, before it takes effect on anything, has to have pre-approval by the Department of Justice. They can't make any changes. And what that means is this bill puts that back into place, so you can't have any changes to voting rules at least 180 days before an election. It has to happen. And also it modernizes the Voting Rights Act formula for determining discrimination in states and localities. It also gives the government more authority to send in federal observers in jurisdictions for the potential of risk of any sort of discrimination at the polls. So John Lewis, who was very instrumental in getting those rights passed along with Martin Luther King and a lot of other Americans of all stripes, of all backgrounds, got that passed. But in 2013, it was taken out. And the reason why that was so important, that was essentially the heart of the Voting Rights Act. And once that was taken out, all of a sudden you started seeing all these different voter suppression laws appear. All kind of laws that says, hey, you can't, we're going to move the polls in your neighborhood and get rid of them. And all of a sudden now you got to travel, 20 minutes to go vote, or we're going to reduce the number of voting machines in your particular precinct. And all of a sudden you've got lines that last 3, 4, and 5 hours. Or we're going to get rid of early voting, or people call that absentee voting, which our military has done for decades and decades and decades, which simply means that's mail-in votes. So they tried to get rid of that in a lot of places. And then, to add insult to injury, what actually was going on as well is that you also had people basically saying, I got all my technology banging over here. I told you it was a live show. Insult to injury. So when people have to wait in line, they told people that they couldn't bring them any water or any food. So if you're waiting in line in the hot sun for hours upon hours, some states were trying to outlaw the fact that you could bring them something to eat or drink while they were in line. Completely ridiculous, right? But yep, that's what's going on. And what I'm also trying to let you know is that these things, I'm getting a lot of people pinging me, man. I'm getting a lot of notifications. Woo, whoa, who is trying to contact me? They want to get to me bad. Don't worry about it. I'm focused on what I got to do here. Live show. Now, what I'm telling you is this is the reason why you need to get out there and push back on this concerning H.R. 4 in the Voting Rights Act, because H.R. 4 basically pushes back on that and says, hey, you can't do that. And then not only did the Congress pass that, the Congress also passed what's known as H.R. 1, which is the For the People Act. They passed another act that even made it even easier for people to vote by expanding access to vote, or adding automatic and same-day voter registration nationwide, 2 weeks of early voting for all voters. I told you about that 2 weeks part. Banning all purging of the voting rolls. And you're saying, well, what's that? Well, what that means is, and how it works with voter suppression is, you vote in one election, and for some reason you didn't vote in the following election, then you try to come back and vote again. Next thing you know, your name is off the polls. And yeah, they'll allow you to vote. They'll give you what's known as a provisional ballot, but essentially they're trying to make it more difficult for people's vote to get counted. And that they are making illegal with this law. But also, again, it restores the full protections of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which I told you was decimated by the Supreme Court in 2013. And it also has financing reforms, banning foreign money loopholes, adding election security and independent commissions to prevent gerrymandering. And you're saying, well, I kind of heard that word before, maybe. But what gerrymandering actually is when the politicians pick the voters instead of the voters picking the politicians. So after a census or something like that, you get partisan groups that try to come in and say, here's all the people who voted for me or of this group, and here's all the people who didn't vote for me. So what I'll do is I'll make sure only people in my congressional district or my local or whatever area are just the people who I know are going to vote for me. And the people who voted for someone else, well, if they had two congressional districts, they'll either try to eliminate one of them or eliminate both of them, or what they'll try to do is put them both together. Once they put them together, what that does is reduces the number of representatives, because if the census is kind of laid out there and it says, hey, you should have a representative for this particular group and a representative for this group based on how the voting lines are laid out because of the census, what they do is they do what they call packing. And they say they'll make you lose one of your representatives, or either make two representatives of the same group run against each other. Either way, it amounts to the same thing. You get one less representative. And you're saying, well, why is that important? Let me tell you why it's important. We have what's known as a representative democracy in this country. And it's supposed to be just, hey, we let people vote. We let the numbers be what they are, and we don't try to manipulate the voting lines and gerrymandering so that people have less representatives. So when it comes time for a particular politician who's elected to vote for something, instead of that politician either being there and having the ability to vote, he's completely or she's completely eliminated, or instead of having two people, you only got one. That's just an example of how that basically is suppressing the vote and suppressing. And what you end up having is people who have an unfair advantage. And those things shouldn't happen. It should just be straight up, right? Exactly. So that is what part of what the HR 1, the For the People Act, is trying to vote against. And then also was passed was the Senate Bill 2747. I'm not going to go into all of it right now. Basically, it's a conglomeration of all those things, and things were put into that. And basically, our government is based on three branches. We've got an executive branch, which is the president. We have a legislative branch, which is the congressmen, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and we have a judicial branch. That's called separation of powers. So no one person has authority over all of those three branches of government. So what's important about that is that we want to make sure that what's in our Constitution is fairly representative in actuality. And we need to make sure we have the ability to vote for people to get them into office that support the policies that you support. So if you're voting for someone because you believe in the things that they're trying to get accomplished, and you believe in the things that you believe in, and you want someone to go into local, state, or federal government to basically get those things done, right? So if there's voter suppression out there, and if they're messing around with your right to vote, then you don't have the ability in a representative democracy to make sure your voice is heard. And that's not the way America is supposed to work based on our Constitution. So there's your quick history lesson there. I talk about that all the time, just sort of to let folks know this is important, but I just don't tell you, hey, make sure you're out there, voting, but also make sure that you understand the 1964 Civil Rights Act, right? Make sure you understand the 1965 Voting Rights Act, right? We just went through that. Make sure you understand the Fair Housing Act of 1968. These are really the fundamental things that are out there that really give you all the other goodness that flows from your voting rights, whether it be a woman's right to privacy, whether it be George Floyd justice bill or police reform bill, or whether it be some environmental issue, it all starts with your vote. That is the least thing that you can do. Of course, you can do more, but to get the people in local and state and federal government, those rights cannot be suppressed or abridged in any way. So that's what I'm talking about. And you're saying, okay, Mark, I hope you're done. Well, not quite, but I've got some great guests for you. We got a fantastic African-American Fairfax County History Month event that's coming up. I got some guests that's going to come on that's going to tell you all about that, man. It's going to be great. Hold on, I need to get a drink for a second. Oh. That's what happens when you talk straight for a little while. You got to take a little break. But this is a live podcast. So we do everything live right on there. Now you're saying, well, what can I do about this? Here's what you can do. You're asking me, I'm going to tell you, that's your call to action. And the call to action, basically, I tell people every week, there's a great tool out there, an activism app that's called 5 Calls. You can get that activism app either on Google. You can, so if you have an Android or something, you can use that, or you can get that app on Apple. You can get it there. But basically, why that app is so good, and I push it all the time, because it makes it easy for people to make their voice heard. All they got to do is download that app either from Google Play Store and Apple. I got an Apple, so download it from the App Store on your Apple phone, and you go in there and you select your issue. Once you put in your address and stuff, it automatically lines up all your congressmen and your senators, exactly who they are, and tells you what it is. And all you got to do is press that button and make the call. And that is what I'm asking you to do. Make that call. Call your representative and tell them, I know about the For the People Act of 2021, HR 1, which I talked about. I know about the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, of which he got beat up, nearly killed for crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And people like Martin Luther King and other folks who gave their lives for it. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on for the people who have worked so hard for the American people to get this done. And it's not a partisan issue. It is an American issue. It is who we are. It is who people who fought in many wars, which my family has fought in this country since its inception. My dad, 30 years Air Force, my uncle, Korean War, and I can go on and on and on. And I can go back to the beginning, not just my family, your family, for those rights and rights that Americans have died for not just us, but for everyone, for that fundamental right. So if all I'm asking you to do is make a call, you can get it done. I know you can, okay? You got to get up, stand up. You know what Bob Marley says, get up for your rights, get it done. Okay. This is what democracy looks like. March on for voting rights. I always kind of like to show people that. I wear the shirt all the time just to tell you it is a fundamental right that you need to make sure that you do. And folks, it's getting almost to that next hour where I like to leave a little room to bring on our special guest. And I want to be able to tell you a little bit about our special guests. And we have actually, at the last moment, we added one additional person. I'm like, great. The more the merrier. Let's get them all in here. So, but I'm going to tell you first, since, I did put this out there, it's on our social media platform. Again, we stream live on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. All the shows are out there on those various things underneath VADSBC. I don't ask people to click or subscribe or to send money. I don't do any of that. All I do and all I know is I just put the information out there. So it's out there. Once it's out there permanently. You can always go see a past show, or you can always say, what's this guy talking about? He talks about it every week. Go click on YouTube and go see it for yourself. Go see what he talked about 20 shows ago, 30 shows ago. We've done like 80 some shows. We're going to keep doing it until we get this done. So, but first, let me tell you about my guest. Great guy, and I've been telling you folks about this, right? It's the Black History Month celebration for Fairfax County. It's a unite, uplift, and celebrate. There's some fantastic folks who are going to be a part of that really great event. And what I try to do is just try to make sure I take the time to really highlight some of the folks who are helping to get this done. And right now, we've got folks on there who are going to be on this at this event, like Jeff McKay, chairman of Fairfax County, and Brian Hill and Rodney Luss is the supervisor, Victor Hopkins, Sheila Dixon, Lynette Clark. Now, I'm going to let them tell you about all that because that's not my job. They're going to tell you more about those great folks, and they're just some of the speakers. What I'm going to do is introduce our guest. And he's got an impressive background and impressive resume. And his name is Paul Woods, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and put Paul Woods, his promo up there. Let me take this down. And Paul is just one of the folks who's doing this. And I always have somebody from who are behind having this African-American history thing happen a few days before their event, just so we can promo the event a little bit. And we've been advertising on our social media. So let me bring up Paul, okay? Striking looking young man there. Right? There he is, Paul S. Woods. That's who he is. And Paul Woods is currently a regional community developer. He's going to tell us what that is. I have no idea, but he can tell us. And he works with the Fairfax County Government and with the neighborhood and community services. And as a community developer, he's been doing this for over 20 years. And he has experience working with adults, youth, programming, and community development. He's had numerous positions within city government and the nonprofit sector as well. He brings a unique array of professional and educational training experiences that qualifies him to deliver results-driven programming and capacity building to a lot of our local communities. And for over 10 years, Paul has been honored. Oh man, he's been doing this for 10 years. 10 years, just one of the folks, he's been honored to serve as a member of the Fairfax County Black History Committee. And also he's one of the founding committee members. That's fantastic. The recently created Juneteenth Youth Resiliency Award. He is also a member of the Neighborhood and Community Services Core Equity Team. He's facilitated training for employees and community members on the county's One Fairfax Policy. In addition to that, Paul is a graduate of Public Allies. Public Allies is, what is this? Oh, it's an AmeriCorps organization dedicated to young adult leadership. AmeriCorps goes back quite a while. Well, anyway, its mission is to create a just and equitable society and the diverse leadership to sustain it. I'm getting my words tangled a little bit, my tongue that is. But let me tell you a little about Paul. Paul has a BS degree, Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Howard University, the Mecca, HBCU strong. Okay, HU, you know, all right. And he's also a certified public manager through George Washington University. He currently resides in the DC area. He's married with 2 beautiful daughters and wife. He is also a proud native of Harlem, New York, and continually seeks ways to give back to communities in Harlem, Fairfax County, and the Washington, D.C. DMV area, and working with the next generation of young people. Outside of his professional interests, he has time to do some stuff to chill. Yeah, he does. Okay. He enjoys traveling, reading. Reading is fundamental, listening to music, and coaching youth sports. So, folks, we also have another guest that Paul's going to tell us about. But first, we're going to bring in Paul. Then we got another secret surprise guest that Paul's bringing along with him. He's going to tell us about him. But before we actually do that, what I want to be able to do is bring into our live stream, without further ado, Paul Woods. Paul, how are you doing, man? Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Mark.
Glad to see you, man. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing
Welcome
great.
Welcome to the show, the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus, live. And we're glad to have you here to tell us about African American History Month.
All right,
I'm going to go ahead and turn it down a little bit. Okay. Settle down, crowd. It's just Paul.
It's just Paul. It's just Paul. It's just me.
Hey, this is a live event. You know, sometimes we get folks on early and we work some things. So I'm going to work some of my magic here just to work some things to sort of see if I can bring Paul a little closer into our stream. I like that better, right? You see Paul a little bit, man. Paul's on there. He's got everything working here. That's fantastic, Paul. Hey,
that works.
You know what? I don't want to waste time. You know what, Paul? I want you to tell me all about you, but also you brought this other fantastic person with you. So I'm going to bring her into the stream as well. Now, this is my first time putting 3 people on at once. We're going to see how this goes, right? So here we go, man. This is an MSNBC. We're kind of laid back and we just sort of enjoy bringing people in. Also, you can introduce her, but you have another person who's with you, and her name is Janita Smith. Hope I got that right. And we're going to bring Janita into the show, and whenever we bring people into the show, we clap them on. Janita, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You got to break up this all guy thing, man. We got to have someone
break it up.
Superior sex.
That's why I'm here. Gotta break it up.
Let's get to the show. That's why you're here, Janita. It's good to see you. I don't have all your bio and stuff for you. I'm going to let you talk about yourself or Paul talk about yourself. But first, just sort of working this thing out. Paul, tell us more about you, how you this came about, and Janita can be here to tell us a little more about her afterwards. Go right ahead.
All right. Well, I can go in. Thank you. First of all, again, thank you, Mark, for allowing us to have this opportunity to share some information about the this Fairfax County Black History Program. Okay. You know, I could tell you a little bit of history about the program, and maybe a previous guest did last year, but this particular program has been in existence for really about 28 years. So,
28 years?
So it has evolved, you know. I would say that we give credit to Mr. Verdia Haywood, who used to be a deputy county executive with Fairfax County.
Right.
And what it started off as a series of small events, and then it kind of grew to celebrate Diversity Month in the county.
Okay.
So then as it evolved, it was luncheons, it was little small events, and then we got over to the Fairfax County Government Center, and then we were able to do it in a bigger way on a bigger stage. Wow. So it's evolved over these years. We've had committees to support it, and I was fortunate enough to be, I guess the term is voluntold, to participate on this committee, but it was great. It's been great all these years. So a little bit about me is that you read my bio, and my title is a community developer with the county, but I do community engagement is more of a term that we like to use. And so primarily what I do is I connect communities. We focus on maybe underserved communities, but we try to connect communities to services. It could be services that the county provides, could be services that our nonprofit partners provide, could be services that our faith-based organizations provide, because we know at county government, we can't do everything, and we're not the end all to all answers and all things. So we work with a variety of partners, and what I do, you know, I work with grassroots communities, all type of people, and I just try to connect them to services wherever I can and through our partners. So, and we also help to engage, you know, we work with our other human agency partners, because right now there's really an emphasis on the community and individuals engaging in policies and processes that the county wants to implement. And we want the community to have a share in that. And we want it to be equitable. And we wanted to be able to have them involved in any decisions that the county, you know, decides on, or at least have a voice. And what I do is I seek out those communities or individuals who historically may not have had a voice in the process. So that's a little bit of what I do, and among other things, but that's kind of primarily some of the things that I do.
Well, that's really interesting, man. And it seems as though you've been doing it very well because you've been at it for what you say over 20 years. You've done this with the county.
Well, I've been fortunate to have a variety of positions. I would say I work with
Hmm.
youth and teens. I've worked as a teen center director. I've worked with
Hmm.
as a community direct center director. I've worked with technology programs. So I've done a variety of things in my role as with the county, but this is the latest one, and I get a lot of enjoyment that I think they've all built to that. All those jobs I think have prepared me to be in a position where I could really do work in the community with a lot of people.
Well, that's interesting, Paul. You've been doing some fantastic stuff, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit how this the founding of the Fairfax County African American or Black History Month actually started? And can you give us a little bit more on that before we go? Then I'm going to bring Janita back in.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell us about it.
Well, again, so really what we really wanted to do was have a celebration for the African American community and others to come in and celebrate with us. So we tried to bring together a variety of different choirs, church choirs. We bring in different speakers to come in about a variety of topics. We've had bands come in to play. We've had sororities and fraternities come and step, but also and perform for us. We've had plays, dance performances. So we've done a variety of things. Um, in addition to that, we provide opportunities for agencies and nonprofits to have resource tables, to share information about some of the services that are available to our county residents. Many people are not aware of all the variety of services that are available. And so we use this Black History program as a vehicle
Mhm.
to provide an opportunity for some of our partners that may not have that opportunity to outreach
Mhm.
to a large
Mhm.
amount of a large segment of the community that come to support this event.
Okay, man, you guys been doing this for a while. I've been around in the county for a minute. And I've gone to some of those events, and they've always been fantastic there at what they call the Palace there at the Fairfax County Governmental Center. It's a beautiful building, and the theater there it's fantastic, man. Having an opportunity to see what actually goes on in there. Well, do
Well,
me a
we take over the palace that for Black History Month and that particular day. So we invite everybody to come out and celebrate and enjoy with us.
And doesn't that also stay? You guys actually you tape it. Well, you show it live, you stream it live, and then it's out there on Fairfax County government websites after that for a while, isn't it?
It has been live in the past. It has been
Mm-hmm.
taped. This year it's going to be taped. We've done it virtually. We've done a
Okay.
variety of different things. We just it's been a variety of different things.
Well, do me a favor, would you? I'd like you to look to your right or your left, whatever side that is on the screen, and do a little introduction of Janita Smith, and tell us a little bit about Janita, so that we can give her, a proper introduction. I'll let you do that.
All right. So I have the pleasure of introducing Miss Janita Smith. Miss Janita Smith is a county employee, works for, I'll do it briefly, but she can elaborate. But we've had the opportunity to work together in the same agency for a number of years. She is the program coordinator with the Fairfax Family for Kids. She can explain a little bit about that, but I want to take the credit to recruiting. This is one of our newest members. She's a neophyte on our Black History Committee, so I haven't, I'm trying to be nice to her so she will continue to stay with us. She's been very supportive and helpful this year, and we just kind of grooming her so she can continue to support us. So I wanted to bring her on here to speak with you, Mark. So
Well,
thanks.
that's fantastic. Janita, welcome to the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus show live.
I know, I'm a little nervous. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, listen, it's just the three of us.
Okay.
You can go ahead and just tell us a little bit about you, and you pretty much heard what I said to Paul. So the program coordinator family for kids. Did I get that right? Or is
Yeah,
that
Fairfax Families for Kids. Yes. So
okay? So I don't know what that is. Tell me what that is and how that kind of links all together here.
So it's an amazing program. So I've been with the
Mhm.
program for about 6 years. I've been with the county for a total of 16. So
Okay.
Fairfax Family for Kids, it's a mentoring program for foster care kids and kinship care kids.
Okay.
So it's amazing. We have monthly outings. In addition to the mentoring, we also do
Mhm.
monthly outings with the kids where we take them to all types of different fun places. We also do educational activities. So when I started the position, that's how I met Paul. Paul has, as he was telling you, all types of connections. He knows everybody, he knows
Mhm.
so many things. So he really did help to put me in contact with a lot of people. You know, for our budget, it's
Mhm.
not super large. So it's nice that I can make connections with people and get
Okay.
deals and things when we're going places. So it's an amazing thing. Paul has been asking me to join the committee for years. This is the first year I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. You know, I don't care what else
Great.
I have
Good
on my
for
plate.
you.
I'm gonna do it. Yes. So
All right.
finally, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. But a little bit more about me. Like I said, I've been with the county for 16 years. I
Mhm.
absolutely love working with youth. I've worked with adults, and I decided I think youth is better for me. I
Okay.
think working with kids keeps you young, keeps you vibrant.
Yeah.
Also, it's a great way to learn. So we are teaching them, but you really do learn a lot
Mhm.
talking to kids. You really do. They will teach you some things. I'm not just talking about like electronics and things like that. I'm talking about just how things are changing or just different mindsets. Sometimes we can
Mhm.
be a bit stubborn in our ways of thinking. And
Mhm.
talking to kids, it's good. It's refreshing. So I love working with youth. So that's why I definitely wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to get youth involved in this because I feel like sometimes kids don't, they just see Black
Mhm.
history as Martin Luther King.
Right.
And
Right.
they think that's it. And I was like, no, there's so much more to Black history than Martin Luther King. So I definitely wanted to join and get our kids involved. And yeah. And then Paul asked me to join this evening. So I'm here.
Well, tell us a little bit about how well, wait a minute. I did an in-depth bio on Paul. So tell us a little bit where you went to school, where you're from, that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
sure. So I am from Prince George's County,
Okay.
Maryland. I live in Charles County now. I went to college at University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Okay.
I went back to school and I got a master's certificate from Virginia
Mhm.
Tech in local government management.
Okay.
So yeah, I love Maryland. I work in
Mhm.
Virginia, but I love Maryland as home. That's where I
Okay.
live. So I have one son. He's 10 years old.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Like I said, I learned from him. I'm teaching
Mhm.
him, telling him stuff, but I'm learning a lot from my son. So that keeps me going.
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, I've got 3 grown kids, and it never stops, right? I
It
can
does.
tell you that it's an ongoing thing, well into their 20s, 30s, and beyond. But
I can
thank
imagine.
well, you know, so this particular show, you guys got some great guests on there, right? Coming up, and I don't know who's probably the best person to talk about the guests. But tell me a little bit about the actual program, so people have an idea of kind of what to expect, right? For the show that's coming up on the date again is the 17th, right?
Yes, this
Yep.
Friday.
This Friday, and the time frame.
It starts. We're gonna have a reception that starts at from 5:30 to 6:30, and that's going to be again like some of the agencies, some nonprofit organizations. They're going to have resource tables to give out
Mhm.
information, share information. A
Okay.
variety from the fire department to the police to the health department to the
Mhm.
family services, neighborhood community services. There's a variety of even the library, the public library. They
Wow,
have
okay.
a genealogy. They have a genealogy program so people can actually do some research and on their roots, on their history.
Okay.
And so that was very popular. We
I
brought
mean,
them
right
back.
on the spot, they're going to look their stuff up and tell them.
Well, I won't say right on the spot, but they will. They can provide you with some of the links and some
Okay.
resources. You know, they have an actual dedicated space in the library in Fairfax City of Rome, and there's a gentleman there who's going to be there at the table to help people to, I guess, guide them through that whole
Okay.
process if that's something that they're interested in.
Who knows? He might end up being on the Henry Louis Gates show on him.
Hey, that's
good
it.
history, man.
That's it. So yeah, so we're gonna provide folks with some food and entertainment. We have a great artist that's gonna be performing.
Wait a minute. You said food? There's gonna be food?
Oh, did I skip over that? Yeah, we're gonna have that's one of the things that we do. You know, we want to support our people, so we're gonna have some food for them. And that's gonna be available. Some food and refreshments during that first hour from 5:30 to 6:30, and then at 6:30, that's when we have all of our dignitaries come. We're gonna have the county, the chairman of the board of supervisor, McKay. He's gonna come and give us a proclamation for the program. We're gonna have the county executive, Brian Hill, come on, and he's gonna say a few words. You know, we have a great sponsor who has been Cox Communication. Cox.
Oh yeah, you got to give Cox their part. They're help sponsoring this thing, right?
They're helping to sponsor, yes. So we're gonna have some words from them, and then we have a couple of performances. You know, as Janita mentioned, we got a young group, some young children that's going to perform, and some spoken word. So we got a variety of different things, and then and that's from 6:30 to 7, and then from 7 to 8. We're going to have something we're going to honor Fairfax first.
Okay.
So we're going to have the first, maybe people know, but the current fire chief is the first African-American fire chief ever in Fairfax County. So we're going to recognize him for his work. We're going to have the first police chaplain for Fairfax County. That's Bishop Carol Baltimore, Dr. Reverend Carol Baltimore. He's going to be there. And we have 2 women magistrates who are appointed by judges. So we're going to, we try to, because a lot of people we find are just not aware of the history of people in Fairfax County. And this is an opportunity for us to highlight some of those hidden gems that are in our communities, but you never would know.
Well, that's kind of interesting. You guys have a pretty dignified group of speakers. You got the kids there. You got the older people. You got people who have of African-American descent who are the first timers in the county. It's a time to give them their, give them their roses, give them their flowers now, give them some recognition.
There you go.
It's a time to do it. And along with all the fantastic folks who've been making it happen across Fairfax County government that are from the community. So everybody got an opportunity to shine. So that's a beautiful thing. But you guys also got I'm looking here at your thing. You've got Brian Hill, the Fairfax County executive, Lynette Clark, Director of Field Operations at Cox. That's your sponsor, right?
That's it. That's our sponsor.
But also, getting to the business part too. You got Sheila Dixon, the Executive Director of the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce. You guys aren't messing around. I love this.
So this is how this has kind of progressed. So what we've been doing for the past couple of years, we were honoring churches that were over 100 years old.
Right.
Then we tried to transition to recognize and honor some of our African American communities that are in Fairfax. And so we said that we've never really gone into the business. We never recognized businesses. And so what we wanted to do this year was to, one, educate some of the community about, business and commerce and bank and some of these businesses. And so the title is, we're going to talk about explore the history of the Black preservation and resiliency of African American businesses in the community. So we got the heavy hitters, as you said. We got
you do. Looks like you brought them in. I know Sheila Dixon has been on this podcast before, and she's fantastic. You got a great person having Sheila be the person. Also, I'm looking at the rest of the folks. You don't mind if I call them out? I want to give everybody a little bit of love, right?
Okay.
You got Victor Hoskins, the president and CEO of Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. Again, along with the business, right?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
And you also go ahead. No, don't let me interrupt you. Go ahead, say something on that.
No, well, you were right. And then as you were going to say, you're going to say Supervisor Rodney Lusk of the Franconia District. So he has worked with, in his role with the county government, he's over some of the financial aspects, economics. And so we wanted to tie him in. And he also has his own, some own programs that he has implemented within the county. So they all tie in together, and we wanted to have, this is going to be like a conversation. It's not going to be them speaking. It's going to be a conversation.
It's a conversation, people talking. It's kind of like we're doing here, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Allow people to ask questions and things like that. So, yeah, it's family. You know, we're family, and we want to create that environment.
Well, you guys are stealing all the ideas. Rodney's been on this podcast, so Rodney's making his way around, man. Supervisor Lusk is getting it done. Also, you got, of course, the chairman. I don't want to leave this other person out, who is Fairfax County. Her name is Carla Bruce, Chief Equity Officer, Fairfax County. Tell us a little bit about Carla, or whoever wants to do it.
Well, Carla Bruce is the person who is our Chief Equity Officer. She's the one that's working primarily with implementing One Fairfax throughout the county government. So that's in all the agencies. We want to implement equity, and we want to implement them into our policies, our procedures. We want to make sure that we reduce barriers in order for us to, again, seek out input from those underserved communities.
Great.
Throughout
I love
the county.
this, man.
So
this is
she has been tasked to working with the entire county to ensure that we are implementing those policies and those procedures within all the things that we do, whether it's interviewing, whether it's any policies that come in with our strategic plan that we want to implement. So she is our leader in that effort, and she's also going to talk about, we have a historical marker project. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, where they did some research. They identified historical markers throughout Fairfax County with like the public schools. And so she's going to talk about some of these communities that maybe people don't know about, and then tie that into the businesses that many of them that did not survive as a result of some of the policies in the past, but to give you a little history about how some of them have, shown resiliency and made it today, and how we're going to continue to thrive, the Black businesses within Fairfax County.
Wow, that's so interesting. Fairfax County does have a rich history, and one of the largest businesses in the DMV is the tourism business. In this region, it brings in over $2 billion a year every year. So for a lot of disadvantaged businesses to find that themselves that there's gold in their Dar Hills, right? All they need to do is put up their sign, tell their history, get them on a bus, get them on a tour, and say, hey, it's not just DC. And people know that it's not just DC and Maryland. Virginia's got a fantastic history, particularly when you start talking about a unique, I think, which I think is a niche area that you don't have enough of it in, is talking about the African-American community in the DMV, particularly in Northern Virginia.
Yes.
So take it from there. Yeah.
Well, again, we want to try to educate people. This is not usually a topic that we bring up during our Black History program, but we felt that it's neat. I mean, it's a progression. We want to educate and make.
Yeah, you guys need to add this component every year. I'm gonna be there pushing it. Okay, I'm already putting in my bid for next year.
Okay, all right. Well, that's what we want to spark interest. And,
absolutely, and bring some other businesses along with us from Fairfax County.
There you go.
There you go. Hey, I don't want to leave out the big kahuna, big cheese in the county from an electoral perspective is my man, Jeff McKay, chairman of the board of Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. How'd you ever rope Jeff into this? I know he wouldn't miss something like this.
Well, you're right. You're right. We didn't have to rope him out. He's always been a big supporter of us and this program. He comes and attends. And again, as I said, this year he's going to provide us with a proclamation to recognize the things that we've been doing, and he's always been very supportive, him and all of his staff. So we're happy to have his stamp of approval and support.
This is fantastic, man. This seems like this is really going to be a great event this year, and I'm going to make sure that I'm there. You know, make sure nothing gets in the way of this. But I'm gonna get there. So try to get the area to get me some of them snacks and hear those songs, and then I want to lock in on all that other good stuff you guys are talking about. Shake some hands, right?
Absolutely. So this has been a hidden gem. We've been doing this for. Where you been, Mark?
I've been to a few of them, but this one sounds particularly interesting.
Look, Mark, you're doing better than me. This is my first time attending, but I'm excited. And I'm on the committee, so I'm definitely coming. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be coming there. I'm fully charged now, so I'm looking forward to it. Janita, is there anything you want to tell us as a newbie, a newcomer? Tell us more.
I'm just amazed at the passion on this group. The stuff that happens behind the scenes, the people that are pushing it. It's a committee of county employees and retired employees that are still passionate. And that says a lot. When you've retired and you walked away and you still want to come back and give and help out, that really does say a lot. So I'm just impressed. I'm glad that input is being received. So I have ideas. They're listening to them. I really wanted kids to participate somehow in this program. A lot of times it's so adult heavy or things like that, but I think it's great for kids to get involved. Kids aren't good at just sitting and watching, but if you get them involved in doing stuff, it's a little better if they're participating. So I'm just happy about that. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm also excited to hear about the business aspect of this, the conversation. So I'm excited about that part. So I think it's going to be good, not just because I'm on the committee and Paul told me to say that. I'm actually excited because I think it's going to be good.
Listen, guys, I go way back with African-American history from birth because I'm an African-American. But in particular, I'm an Air Force military brat. We always had these programs. We traveled all around Europe, Asia, around this country. And, since I would say probably starting off in junior high school. I know in the military bases, they always had these in the high schools and junior high schools, the African-American history programs. So I'm used to seeing that. And I'm glad that it's happening. Matter of fact, I'm going to toot my horn when my son who graduated, not my horn, but I'm going to toot Fairfax County's horn. Let me put it that way. My son graduated from, it's no longer called that, but the Robert E. Lee High School. And we gave the first African-American history program there when he graduated quite a while ago. So, and guess who was helping in a sponsor back then? Our friends with Cox had a lot of the folks who I know, like Tilly Blanding, Alfred. Tilly was back there involved with that. She was on last year promoting this event. So I'm really happy to see, I don't want to call myself an elder, but I guess I am. In this case, when you talk about the next generation, plus, what do you mean? You got all this gray hair. You're an elder. I'm an elder.
I'm an elder.
This is good stuff. And to see where it's gone, you guys and everybody who's been a part of this across the entire county government and community really need to be patting themselves on the back because this has grown in a big way. And I don't want to get at all political about it, even though this is a Democratic Small Business Caucus show live. There's folks who are trying to stop this history from being told, and all Americans need to hear all Americans' history. Enough said about that, unless you got something to add. I'm not forcing you. So all I'm saying is great work, fantastic work. And I'd like to try to keep this thing as much on time as we can. I know you guys have been very generous with your time. And I want to ask you the question, and I'll go with ladies first on this with Janita. Okay. I ask all my guests this one question. You're getting a chance to think about it longer, Paul. Maybe a little unfair. Okay. But the question that I asked them, if you were, in this case, queen for a day, you had that magic scepter and you could just say, wave that magic scepter and something could be done with just simply you saying, make it so, what would be the first thing you?
That's a good one. I don't want to sound cheesy, but just be kind. That is it. That's it. Just for people to be kind. I feel like there is so much chaos right now. Every time I look on social media, news. I'm hearing things from people. The world is in disarray. I'm not asking people to get along, be friends. Just be kind, be cordial. You don't have to agree with what I agree with. We can disagree and do it in a decent way. Just be kind. Like that's it. Stop all the fighting. It's nonstop. Things have just gotten a little crazy. So that was my thing. Just be kind to people. It's so many
I
good
love
things.
that.
Yeah, it's just maybe that's the lady answer, but I just would wish people would be kind.
No, it's
God
not
knows
the
me.
lady.
I'm a positive person. So
Hey, my mother told me this a long time ago, and you're saying the same thing. It's the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. Be kind. You
there
don't
you
want
go.
somebody treating you bad.
Exactly. And it's just simple to do that.
Yes,
Just
it's a simple thing to do. It
Mhm.
really is. That's fantastic. That speaks to who you are as a person. That's a beautiful thing, Janita.
Thank you.
And Paul, now that you've got a chance to hear not my trick question, but my surprise question, what would you say to that same thing?
Well, Mark, since this is Black History Month, I'm gonna stay on task here and say I really would like to see, if I had a magic wand, I would want, I would say, our community, the African American community, as well as others, to really know about the history of themselves, and not just limited to the American history, but their history from Africa as well in the continent. And so I think that would help in terms of them, you know, having self-esteem and being able to really be progressive in their future and things that they do. And like she said, I think that would also stem the community to be kind to each other, and mankind to be kind to each other. So just some education and awareness of what their history entails and the future that we all have together.
There you go again, man. Every people just need to stand up,
There you go.
support those things. Everybody do what they need to do. Everything will be fine. Well, folks, get up, stand up for your rights, support everything you need to do. I want to thank you, Paul, for being on the show, and you, Janita.
Thank you, Mark.
So come on back again. Hopefully we'll see you back next year.
We'll see you Friday.
We see you Friday.
All right, folks. Thank you for being on the show. We're going to end the podcast right here. Have a good
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.